Hey, how are you guys doing? My name is Shenya from the Jesus Center. I want to share a sermon for this week in English, and because we don't have English service this weekend. And I share from Titus 3, chapter 3, verse 12 to 15. Chapter 3, and verse 12 to 15. Please read the Bible, this passage, before you listen this message. Are you ready? Okay, the theme is lastly to Titus. A man was having dinner with his friend for the first time in 10 years. And he said, "How have you been lately?" The friend said, "I became the manager from today." And he said, "That's exciting, isn't it? How many people are in your department?" And he said, "Must be about 30. Then he said, "That's amazing. But why don't you look so happy though?" He said, "No way, bro." And he said, "Because until yesterday, I was the president." So something happened, and he was the president, but he became the manager. Now, if you meet such a friend like that, how would you encourage him? We all need encouragement. So, we've been learning from this book of Titus, and today is actually the last message from this book. And this book is full of encouragement from Paul. But not only the encouragement, but also there are some methods and teachings to handle church. At the end of this letter, Paul is mentioning about his current situation. Today we have 2 points, and the first point is we need co-workers to accomplish God's visions. We need co-workers to accomplish God's vision. In verse 12, and it says, "As soon as I send Artemas and Tychicus to you, do your best to come to me at Nicopolis, because I have decided to write there." So Paul had friends close to him. The first he brought Artemas in this passage. And Artemas' name only appears in this passage. And second one was Tychicus. And he was mentioned in Paul's mission trip with Timothy, and Tychicus took the letters of Ephesians and Colossians for Paul. And he was a faithful servant. And now these two go to Titus. When these two got there, and Paul asked Titus to come over to his place. So after this letter, Titus went to see Paul. And these two replaced the ministry and creed for Titus. And verse 13 said, "Do everything you can to help Zenas the lawyer and Apollos on their way, and see that they have everything they need." It says Zenas the lawyer. When we hear the lawyer, it means a Jewish lawyer. But since his name is in Greek, he's not a Jew, and it's not an Old Testament lawyer. He was a Roman lawyer. And then there's Apollos. You may have heard of Apollos, and he was a person who shared the gospel with Paul. And regarding these two, Paul said to Titus, "Take care of them, give everything they need." So this letter was probably delivered by Zenas and Apollos during a trip to other places. And so Paul told Titus to make sure give them everything for next journey. Paul was doing a lot of great works. He went at 3 mission trips and wrote most of the New Testament. But Paul could not have done all these great works by himself. Paul wrote a lot of letters, but after Paul wrote his letters, there was always a person who helped Paul to deliver the letter. If there was a leader who was getting discouraged, and he found someone who can deal with it and send him. And many people were involved in Paul's work, helping him and supporting him, and they were all moving forward together. I could say God's work requires a people. Let us think about it. If you're rowing a big boat, if it's by yourself, you need a lot of power to move if it's by yourself. But if it's with your friends and people, if you cooperate together, it can produce a big power. And the power is the power which you can never produce by yourself. When you think about a big orchestra or big band, each one of the musicians are very good, but if they have a music sheet, and if they can play all together, play just their part, not playing all, cooperate with all, it could be massive and beautiful music. The church is like the boat and the orchestra we just talked about. When we all work together, we can demonstrate powers that cannot be done alone. You can accomplish great things that you cannot do alone. Well, when we think about our church history at the Jesus Center, the church history, when we look back, when we started in 2017, there was no space to do our service, or no people at first, but many people helped us setting up church or tearing down stage and speakers. And even after moving to our church venue now, there is a welcome team, cooking team, and making lunch team, or the snack teams, or kids teachers, have been working with the children during the service. This church, Jesus Center, is supported by so many people and so many prayers. I'm a pastor in Jesus Center, but it cannot be done just to my power or my time, just only me. There are so many people involved, and we're a team. That's why we can accomplish so many things. Unfortunately, now we have a lot of people, more people. That's why I think we need to encourage and support and help each other even more for our future, because this church can have a greater impact in this area. The 2 Corinthians 13:11 said, "Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, strive for full restoration, encourage one another, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you." We should be one. We should work together. But we should always remember something very important. There is a coach on our ship, and in our orchestra, we have a conductor. That is God Himself. God is the one who guides us. Can I hear, man? All right, and second point today is Paul had a clear vision, which he always followed. In verse 14 says, "Our people must devote themselves to doing what is good in order to provide for urgent needs and not live unproductive lives." Paul was devoted for good things. What is good things for Paul? What is good things for Paul? And Paul was devoted to live for God. Even he saw something great in his eyes, or even he saw or faced something terrible, he just lived for Jesus. He had a clear vision to live for Jesus. So what do you live for now? Do you live for your life or for money? Or if you are living for something that you can see now, they will disappear someday. But if we live for Jesus, we get everything we need. Living with God is what we need. So Paul always chose to live with God, even if there is a persecution, even if his life is threatened. This is because he believed that walking with God, no matter what, was the greatest blessing in his life. As we close this letter, let us get Paul's final message. And that is, we should have clear vision to walk with God. Whatever happens in our lives, whatever phase in our lives, we should walk with God. That is everything that we need. Can I hear amen? So I'd like to introduce you a Japanese famous person who actually had his eyes set on God. His name is Yukiji Fukuzawa. He is a well-known teacher, educator, and philosopher and writer. He is actually the founder of Keio University, which is one of the good university in Tokyo. And his face is on the 10,000 bill in Japan. So he's very famous. But he is known as an anti-Christian in Japanese history. But in his book, we could see his heart was moved by God in the Bible. And his famous book is called Gakumon no Susume, which is academic recommendation. That's one of the most famous book in Japanese history. But 1 year before he wrote that book, he wrote a book called Daily Teachings to his kids. And he says this: I fear God, and I respected it, and I obey. And he says that God is not Nichirin, which means sun, because some people worshipped sun before. And it's called God, God, in Europe. When you translate to Japanese, he is a creator. That's he said. The reason why he rejected Christianity was because he thought Japan would be colonized by the advanced and powerful Christian nations. So that's why Japanese government and he rejected the Christianity. But when we see his life, the very interesting thing was happening. In the Keio University, he allowed all missionaries to teach English and the Bible. In his late years, not only in his school, but also he invited missionaries to teach English and the Bible to his kids. He actually apologized and criticized himself, and saying that it was a mistake to banish Christianity. And he said it is necessary to teach Christianity if Japan wants to develop more as a country. In his late years, Mr. Fukuzawa feared the God in the Bible. He was a person who always kept his eyes on God's teachings. He focused their attention on the eternal world and educated the future generations about it. Well, he was known as an anti-Christian, but when we see his late years, I believe that he is in heaven now. He was looking at God, whatever happened, and wherever he was. So, let us fix our eyes on Jesus today and let us walk with God who blesses us and guides us all the time. Can I hear amen? Alright, that's it, guys. So we will have English service for sure next week on September 22nd from 9 o'clock. The English service is 9 o'clock and Japanese service starts at 10:30. So everything is in English, in worship, MCs, and sermons, and everything is in English. So I'll see you guys next week. All right, peace out.